Alright, what's good, people? So today we're going to talk about the green Thorn Astrum first production clone. You'll have to forgive me, I'm actually shooting over at my girlfriend's apartment. I've been with her all week because our daughter was out of town on a trip. But I just got this in the other day, and it's a phenomenal looking knife, in my opinion. It's going to be hard for me to pick it up on camera. There we go. But these milled lines on here are super, super faint. Like they're very, and then they just like end out here towards the end of it. But I don't know, I'm getting ahead of myself. So it's like I said, the Green Thorn Astrum first production clone. It's in VG10, full titanium, except for the steel liner insert. It's an inset liner, and it's a steel. And then this thing is just a long, like you can see, the blade on it is over 4 inches long. And then the craziest part is the weight of this thing. So overall, we're 9 inches right on the nose. The cutting edge is right at 4 inches. And then this thing only weighs 3.7 ounces. So it's milled out on the inside. And then it just feels like when I got it out of the box and had it in this thing, I thought for a minute maybe they didn't send the right knife or something. Because it is so light that it feels odd. Because it's so big. It's 9 inches overall with a 4-inch long blade. And then it's 3.7 ounces. It feels so svelte in the hand to be such a big, long knife. It's just kind of crazy. It almost feels like kind of cheap because it's so light. But it's obviously it's not. Like, I mean, you just look at this thing, like I was saying from the beginning, these milled lines that fade out just look great. And then this thing it's not contoured, so it's flat scales. And then you can see the blade is nestled into that little notch right there. The clip, I was actually kind of worried about the clip being tight and being kind of thin underneath it there, but it works going into my work pants, my Lee work pants, just fine. And it's nice and tight, so it stays in there really good. But because this ramp is so big on there, like you don't have any issues of it like popping or doing anything crazy like that. And it's just a great looking clip. It looks really good in the pocket. And then this back spacer, so it's basically like it's free floating. You can see, so you can see through it right there on both sides. And then the same way going all the way down through here. And then you've got the lanyard post, obviously. And then same way on this part right here. You can see, if the camera will stay focused, which it's not going to. Like you can see where you can kind of like see past it on both of these bottom edges down there. And that's exactly how it is on the real one. So everything that I can tell on this one, and then of course it has the logo, wish it didn't have that. And then the only other writing on it is VG10 right here. And it's a bead blast finish on the blade, or a vapor home. You know, I'm not sure what kind of media they're using to blast it, but it is so silky smooth, just like the Bio is. The nice swedge on it, you know, comes down to a super, super dainty tip, you know. It just is it's hard to deny this is a freaking phenomenal looking knife, opened up or closed. And then it didn't come with the a tool for the hardware, but obviously you just use a thicker flathead and you're going to be just fine getting both of them out of there. I use, so the little dainty little set of Cobalt cheapos from Lowe's, you know, and then like this bigger one right here worked just fine. But yeah, then it's got, we got chamfered edges everywhere. We got these 5 little dots right here, which are the same right down here. You got more milled lines kind of going right here. It's just got a lot of detail in it. The back spacer, like, with this chunks taken out of it. It's just a cool looking knife, man. It's just super cool looking. But unfortunately, for as cool as it looks, I wasn't super impressed with the action on this knife. And so first, we'll get the first elephant out of the room. It has a detent lash. So I'll see if you can hear it. I don't know if you're going to be able to hear it. Maybe I can show it. It's very minimal, but you definitely can feel it. So you can see where it's, if you look right down here, where that swedge line is, you'll see it moving. And it's from the detent ball not being big enough for the hole that they milled out in there. So they milled the hole a little too big. That's my guess on why it's doing that. And then our second issue is going to be this flipper tab. So while it works great, it's super high above the pivot. This thing has a great detent on it. It kicks out like a champ. But it's a little pokey. If I sit here and flip it, 3 or 4 times in a row, and then we look at what it's doing to my finger there, like you can see the mark that we're already starting to leave on there. So it's pretty pokey. Now that's not that big of a deal. You can easily knock that edge down a little bit with some high grit sandpaper, and it's not even going to be a big deal anymore. So I tried, this knife also has double clutch, and I've tried relentlessly watching videos online about the original one to find somebody who will let the knife close, by letting the tab hit their nail, and then seeing if they'll drop it past that way. But I can't find anybody that will close it that way with the real one. So it leads me to believe they all do it like this, the same way you have to on this one because of the double clutch. So it leads me to believe that even the original of this has this double clutch issue on the first production model that looks like this. Now the fancier custom version, which Greenthorn offers a version of it too, I think it probably doesn't have it because I think that the inset liner lock is designed a little bit differently. But it's just basically, because that, you see how low down that detent ball is. If it was moved up a little bit higher, then you could catch that tab. But as it stands, so detent is right there, right where you want to catch it. And so you're not past it until right there. And that leaves you like hardly any room to catch it after the fact, because right there is where you want to catch it. Right there. And that's right at the detent. And it does have a ramp, so you can easily swing past it if you do get stuck on it. And luckily, the drop action on this one is not, like a guillotine. It's not super droppy like the Bio one is. The Bio is it swings down on its own. And this one almost has double clutch, but it doesn't. So detent is right there, and then right there you're past it. So you've got just enough to catch this one without having to catch it super late to get past it. And I don't really have a problem with this one as far as catching it and dropping it. Even just picking it up and going, I don't have to be subconscious of where I'm letting it fall to. This one, I can't, no matter what I do. I have to let it drop past. If I try to catch it right there, I'm hung on it every time. Which is unfortunate, but because it's not a straight guillotine, like I said, it's not that big of a deal because you just let it fall, without hitting your nail and then shake it past. And again, on the original, from everything I've been able to notice on there, kind of felt like it was. It's starting to work itself over. I need to lock tight. The pivot down because it's keeps working itself back over on there on me. Yeah, but from everything I've been able to tell with the original as well, it basically has the double clutch issue as well. And it's not a fall shut knife either. You're going to have to shake it home. You know? And those two, the flipper tab and the double clutch, aren't that big of a deal. But that is a big deal. That's a problem, you know? And you can feel it. I can feel it when I go to flip the knife. You feel that little bit of give on it before you break it, you know, every time. Hitting that damn double clutch on it again. So, you know, that's unfortunate. And I've talked to a couple other people that own this clone version, and they said theirs doesn't have that. So I could have just got a bad one, you know? And it's not the end of the world. It's not like it's so egregious that it, you know, I can't look past it. But still, it would be nice if it wasn't there. I mean, this was what'd I pay for this? Like 85, maybe pushing 90. So between 85 and 90. And I mean, for what you're getting for that price, it's hard to deny that it's still a really nice knife. You know, it's hard to complain. But comparing it to, and you get the case with every green thorn. They come with a nice case, you know. But it, you know, when I compare this Astrum clone to this Bio clone, there's just no comparison. This Bio clone is so much nicer, in my opinion. You know, because it's contoured, because you don't have the double clutch, because the flipper tab is not super pointy, but still has great jimping going down around it like that, and it just rockets out. And then the drop close on it is nice and smooth and glides closed, you know. It feels better in hand because it's contoured, you know. It's just a more impressive knife, in my opinion, than the Astrum. I mean, they're still both phenomenal knives. You know, and it's crazy you can get them for the price you can get them at. But this is way more impressive overall than this is. Now, I will say, I do like this one having the inset liner lock better. It's easier to access, you know, it's easier to disengage. This one's not hard to disengage. It's still super satisfying, super easy. The lock bar tension's not crazy stiff or anything. It's just, I feel like it's a little bit easier and a little bit nicer on this one, you know, because if I can get it right, the camera is, you can see they laid it back right here to give you the nice access on it, you know, and it's proud underneath of there. So yeah, it's just a little bit nicer. The blade, I want to say these things are damn near like cutting length on them is pretty much identical, and they're almost damn near identical opened up. You know, the Astrum is a little bit bigger, longer, you know, but you know, I think maybe once if I sand down this and so that it's not quite as aggressive on there, because you can see it's pretty pointy on that last little part right there because it sticks straight up, going straight into your finger. And then, like I said, the double clutch, you don't even really notice it because you're swinging past it every time, you know. So unless you're trying specifically to catch it on the flipper tab is the only time you're really going to notice it. And then it not being quite as drop shutty, it'll probably break in and be better than it is now. There's no real way to, or it's a little harder to fast track it because you can't really put significant pressure on this and try to work it out yourself. But the detent lash is the real problem. And, that's one of the biggest problems with, like, AliExpress. And I bought this off of the Green Thorn official website, but it's not like I can just return this. Or it's not like I can just send them a message and say, hey, this knife has detent lash. I'm upset about it. Can I return it and get you to replace it with a different model? Maybe they would. But in prior experience, that hasn't been the case on AliExpress. You're kind of stuck with what you got. But I will say, I ordered this, and the original one said it shipped to my house, but I never got it. I contacted the official Green Thorn store and told them, and then they actually sent me out another knife. And that's the first time that's ever happened to me on AliExpress. So I was, pretty impressed with that, to be honest with you, that they were willing to send out another knife since the one got lost. Because it did show on USPS that it got delivered to my address, but I never got the damn thing, so good on them for doing that. And like I said, the little bit of detent lash, you have to kind of like apply pressure on here before you go to flip it to even be able to notice it. It's so very minor, And like I said, talking to the other two people who don't have it on their copy leads me to believe that I might have just got a lemon, But I think overall, just, if it were me, I would look at some of their other models. As much as I like the way this one looks, that pointy flipper tab, it not being contoured, unless you're just really in love with the look of this knife, it's just hard for me to recommend it when you can get this for the same price, and this is just such a better knife, in my opinion, in all aspects of it, So, but still, it's a phenomenal pickup, if you're interested in it. But this is more what I've always been expecting when I've bought clones, is to get QC issues, is to have, detent lash, is to have, problems with the knife. But either I've gotten extremely lucky, or I don't know what, but all the premium, and when I say premium, I mean, but like not even over $100, but the premium clones that I've bought off AliExpress, they just don't really seem to have problems. And if they do, we're talking about something like a little bit of a light detent, or we need to put Loctite on the pivot to keep it from backing out. But this is the first time I've ever gotten detent lash on a clone that I paid significant money for. Now, I have bought like a $20 super cheapo, just wanted to see what it was like on there, and it was fucking garbage, and went directly in the trash can and was a waste of my time and money. But if you buy these nicer ones from these respected companies like Green Thorn, Jaful, Limifshi, I'm starting to think maybe I've just had really good luck with them, but I've been pretty darn satisfied with my purchases, and I'm still pretty damn satisfied with this knife. It's just not as impressive as something like this, or probably a lot of their other offerings, if I'm being honest. The premium version of it looks amazing, but I'm really glad I didn't spend $250 and end up with a knife with detent lash that I cannot send back. Or their Annex clone. It looks amazing too, but I'm scared to spend that kind of money on a knife knowing I'm stuck with it if there's something wrong with it, But it's still it's super impressive. Like I said, 3.7 ounces. It's just crazy this thing only weighs that much. So, but anyway, there's my thoughts on it. Kind of comparing it to the BioClone. Hope y'all are having a good one. Take it easy.